Can you imagine how pathetic and humiliating it would be if I tried to go back and play a 17-year-old?
Welcome to Newsweek Conversations. We're here with Paul Wesley. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm sure you know Paul from Vampire Diaries, Tell Me a Story, done some incredible things. We're super excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm flattered.
One of the things I noticed was our camera crew used to be all male. And now they're all female.
Oh, wow. Look
and
at that.
I wonder, is that just a coincidence?
Is this just for tonight? Or
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, Paul. So you grew up not far from here in New Jersey, right?
That's right, yeah.
In a Polish immigrant family.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
My understanding is you sort of split your time between Poland and New Jersey.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's pretty different from the life you're leading now. So,
yeah.
So at some point you must have had like, oh my God, I got a fan base. Like, talk to me about the moment that you woke up in the morning and like, oh, my life is different.
Right.
When was that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I started, acting as a means of escapism in a sense. I was in New Jersey. I wasn't, high school was a bit hard for me, truthfully, and it is for many people. And I'm not saying cry me a river, but I had somewhat of a difficult time. I switched around different high schools. I started acting in New York City, started doing some theater. I remember, just to answer your question quickly, the first time someone asked me for an autograph, I think I was like 17 years old, and I remember like I was on a soap opera, and there was a fan, can I have your autograph? And I went, me? I was like, wait, really? And I was so excited, and I couldn't believe it, and that was a huge moment for me. But I suppose the pop culture fame, quote unquote, and the people really coming up to me and becoming sort of really known was. I would say about a week after the Vampire Diaries premiere. I had been living in Atlanta. It's where we shot the show, and it was a fairly isolated sort of bubble. It's not LA, it's not New York, it's Atlanta. Yeah. And I knew the show was popular, but I didn't know to what extent. And I just remember there was like a turning point where it just, that everywhere I walked, it was just like every single person would say hi. And I'm not trying to sound narcissistic, or it's just the reality of what the situation was at that point, and I remember my parents were visiting me, and I was like, oh wow, this is different than I suppose what this is. Something's different here. Like, this isn't the normal ride. And then I remember we went to London to do press for the show, and there's a great shot of it actually online. I stick my head out of the window at the London hotel, me and my two co-stars, and there was like thousands of people on the street just like yelling, and I just remember thinking, this is the most surreal experience ever. And then because
a few weeks before you would just you've like changed that. And
then I realized like this is all going to go away as well. Fortunately, I realized that. I tried my best not to drink the Kool-Aid too much, because that can be a slippery slope.
Yeah. Do you feel like it changed you in some ways, or?
Yeah. I think it would be really ignorant of me to say no. I do think it changed me, for better and for worse in some ways. I would like to think for the better. I'm certainly not as well known as Kevin Bacon, for example, but there was a quote that Kevin Bacon said that I remember stuck with me a little. Someone's like, what do you think of fame? And he said, there are more pros than cons. Like, yeah, certain parts can be annoying, but for the most part, it's a good thing. Yeah. And I kind of feel lucky, I feel fortunate, I do feel like there are people who are very, very gifted, very, very talented, who don't end up on a big hit show and or in a big hit movie, and it's just the reality. And so I'm not, I don't have some delusion of grandeur, and I realize I did work hard, but I'm not, I try to be fairly modest, humble about it, I suppose.
So next time I need a restaurant reservation, can you help me out?
Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I still have juice. I don't know. It's been a while.
One of the things that you did was you did go to university for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you didn't
Right.
because of work, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, my whole life I thought that going to university was just like inevitable. And you know, my father's engineer. He went to Columbia. My sister's a lawyer. My mom's a psychologist. Everyone's fairly, you know, academic. And I just never fathomed dropping out of college because I was working as an actor. And I even remember I was at Rutgers University, and I said, I can't go to class because I'm filming, I'm on set. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna temporarily drop out and I'm gonna come back. Of course I'm gonna come back. I never went back. And I don't really regret it.
What advice do you have to an up-and-coming actor who is going to college?
Yeah.
Or should you not go to college?
First of all, I think everyone has their own path. My little sister's actually pursuing acting. She asked me all the time. I mean, just over Thanksgiving, she was picking my brain.
So what do you tell your little sister?
I sat her down and I said, listen, you need to stop worrying about what other people think. And what I mean by that is your authentic voice as an artist and your path is going to be your path. You can ask a million people for advice and everyone's going to have a different opinion. And there's no right or wrong. You need to do whatever you think is going to be best, what your voice, what your artistic voice says. Otherwise, you're being disingenuous and nobody cares about something that's not genuine. What are we paying for? We're paying to see something unique.
Right.
You're not paying to see a carbon copy of something.
Right. That's good advice.
No, I don't know. We'll see if she listens to me.
So as you said, I mean, The Vampire Diaries was crazy successful from the get-go. Eight seasons, cultural phenomenon. What do you think it was about the show that so immediately resonated with the fans? What was it that just everyone was like, oh my God, I have to see this show?
I think it's a variety of different things, but I think one of them is it was certainly following the success of the Twilight franchise, which was a huge, you know, monster phenomenon as well. I think this was like in a way this sort of TV version of that. You know, the vampire story has been a story that we've told for ages. I mean, it's, you know, Dracula and Nostradamus and you know, whatever. And I think this was just a sort of, it's a symbol, it's a metaphor for danger and the loner who's misunderstood, or the girl who's looking for, you know, eternal love, or, you know, I think it's relatable in many ways, even though it's obviously extreme and it's about people sucking blood, right? But I think in many ways it's extremely relatable.
Yeah. Tell us about whichever word you want, fun, unusual encounter you've had with a fan as a result of
I've had a couple. Yeah, I've had a couple. You know, these days we're a lot closer to fans than, you know, previously because they do a lot of Comic-Cons and fans sort of, you know, that's such a huge thing now. Everyone does these big Comic-Con events and I go to a few of them, and I've definitely had some interesting, I mean, I've signed a few autographs on people's bodies who later then appear about a month or two later at another event and show me the, you know, the finished product with the tattoo. I've had, you know, people come up to me. I have a tattoo of a rose and exact replica of my rose, you know, and you know, I had one woman. Oh man, one woman asked me to sign her baby, and I said, I'm not going to do that. She gave me a Sharpie. She signed my baby's hand, arm. And I was like, I'm not going to sign your baby's arm. Yeah, that's where I draw the limit. Yeah.
I'm glad you drew the limit.
Thank you.
One of the things that happened to you on the show is you moved from acting in it to directing it and producing some of the episodes.
Yes.
Talk to us about that journey.
Sure.
You know, it was presumably a purposeful thing, a decision that you made.
Yeah, you know, filmmaking for me, acting is very interesting. Obviously, it's what I pursued, but I think I also am so deeply invested in sort of the directorial style. And anytime I watch a film, to be honest with you, it's the first thing I really notice. And it's something that I had always kind of regretted not going to film school. I still regret not going to film school. not studying directing. I think it would have been.
What were you studying the 1 year you were in Rutgers?
Who knows? Liberal arts. I was trying to figure it out. You know, my dad was convinced that I'd be a good lawyer. I mean, who the hell knows?
So you were in a general program, but it wasn't film. Anyway.
No, it was not. It was not. And you know, I had done a bunch of pilots, and I had told myself that if I get a show that gets picked up and lasts for a while, I'm going to ask the showrunner if I can direct an episode. And I stuck to that promise. Finally got a show that got picked up for a long time, and I asked the showrunner, can I direct an episode? And they said, well, maybe, but you need to study it a little, and you need to go to director's workshop. And I called Warner Brothers, and I went in, and I said, guys, I'd love to direct an episode. And they said, well, you need to take this director's workshop. So I took a Warner Brothers workshop.
What was that like?
It was amazing. It teaches you how to, well, it teaches you technical aspects, of course.
Is it designed for actors who want to be directors?
It's designed for anyone that works in the Warner Brothers family who wants to pursue directing. So you can be any field.
Grip.
Exactly. A grip, whatever.
Yeah.
An AC, you know, whatever it is, as long as you want to pursue directing, you can get into this program. I did this program. It was great. I had also sat in the post-production. I sat in the editing room. I sat in the pre-production. You know, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Did an episode, went really well, kept going, and now I've done, you know, a bunch of episodes of television. I'm doing another episode of television in February for a different series. I love it. I'm now pursuing more of a narrative. I've directed a few shorts. I'm co-directing a short with a guy who's brilliant, who just was nominated for Palme d'Or in Cannes. So I'm really trying to find my voice, I guess, as a filmmaker. And the TV directing was like a really good step towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll presumably just do both? Are you gonna, you know?
Yeah, I think at a certain point, if could be so lucky, I'd like to sort of direct my own material more than I think.
Direct things that you're in.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. Actually, I'd prefer not to be in it. More things that I'm involved in creatively, in terms of like, you know, the creation of the product, whether it's producing or, you know.
Yep. Both Vampire Diaries and Tell Me a Story, which you're in now,
yes,
were produced by Kevin Williamson.
That's right. No coincidence.
Really? They're both based on fairy tales and legends. And they're both, you know, sort of a modern take on, you know, how those fit into our contemporary lives. And what do you think, and it's not the only example, so you know, there are other examples out there, as you mentioned, Twilight.
Sure.
What do you think it is that makes them so successful? Are these, because I mean, Tell Me a Story, you know, you wouldn't, if you'd said to me, oh, I'm going to do the Three Little Pigs, like, I wouldn't have thought that would be exactly what happened here.
You're right. I think that there has to be something that the viewer finds relatable. Childhood stories, fairy tales, cautionary tales, things we've heard as children, you know, don't stray far from, you know, the house and wander into the woods, you know, Hansel, Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood. You know, these are all sort of these relatable cautionary tales that I think we as adults watch now with a different sort of perspective. You know, the Three Little Pigs is like a fairly, you know, innocent, innocuous thing in my mind as a child, and now I sort of read, because I was involved in this Three Little Pigs storyline last year, and I sort of started researching it a little, and I thought, this is extremely dark and disturbing.
Yeah. Most fairy tales are extremely dark and disturbing.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting.
Yeah. The character you play on Tell Me a Story is very different than the character you played on Vampire Diaries. Do you think so, or think is?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, Stefan, the Vampire Diaries character, was like he was the hero of the story. Yeah. You know, he was the guy that saved the day. Yeah. You know, and I've intentionally sought out roles that are the antithesis of that, just as, you know, because I mean, obviously, we don't want to be typecast. I think anytime you're on anything popular, be it a show or a movie, people know who you are specifically from that, and that's
I was going to say, it must be fun to do something very different.
It's just, it's like I'm trying to do anything and everything that I can to just separate myself from that at this point.
You have I'm embarrassed to say you have more social media followers, not than me, which is definitely true, but than Newsweek. And we have millions. But you've got 8 million Instagram followers and 4 million Twitter followers.
Right.
We're right behind you, right?
Yeah, right.
Does it give you a feeling of, do you have a feeling of responsibility towards them? How do you think about those people, those millions of people that are following you on those platforms?
Gosh, when you put it that way, it makes me find the whole thing very daunting. I try not to.
I didn't mean that.
No. But I try not to think about it too much. I try to. It's funny, you know, like I can be a bit precious actually compared to some of my, you know, fellow actors that I've worked with, and you know, they're like, you know, Instagramming it, you know, everything they do, and they you know. They eat breakfast, they Instagram their breakfast. You know, I try to be a little more private. I try not to bore the hell out of people. But at the same time, I think people are following me because they're interested in what I do. So I think it's a fine line of being preachy without being pushy. It's about showing a part of yourself and giving someone a sneak peek, not sneak peek, I suppose a peek into your personal life without be overexposing yourself. You know, I think it's like a really fine line that I don't know if I will ever figure out, but I just try to walk it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on politically right now.
Yeah, no, like I've seen you do some,
you
know, pretty responsible stuff on there. I've also seen you push people into pools.
Yeah,
so you do that often?
Yeah, I sure do. No, I try not to. No, that was Nina.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, well, you know, Nina gave an interview, and she's my co-star from Vampire Diaries, and she gave an interview and said, Paul and I didn't get along season 1 and 2, and we fought and we despise each other, and it's like, that got and now we're really close friends, very, very close friends. And that got blown out of proportion. And of course, there's all these, you know, Us Weekly, every magazine just picked up on Vampire Diaries stars hated each other, you know. And so we spoke on the phone, and she's like, next time we get together, we have to do something. And we were both in Spain for an event, and I'm like, what do we do? And she's like, and Julie Plec, who actually is one of the co-creators of the Vampire Diaries, came up with the idea of like us having makeup, and she apologized. I say no big deal, and then I throw her in the pool. And it's simple.
Fantastic.
It's simple, but it's effective.
It's very effective. It's really. I loved it. It was. If there was a Vampire Diaries reboot, would you be in or out?
I think I'd be out.
Yeah.
It's
run its course.
Yeah, I think I'd be out. I think that. I think anytime I see a reboot and there's all these like sort of, first of all, I'm going up. My character's age is supposed to be.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, when I got that role, I was actually theoretically playing a 17-year-old. So can you imagine how pathetic and humiliating it would be if I tried to go back and play a 17-year-old?
Right.
No, I think certain things are worthy of a reboot. Maybe if Seinfeld had a reunion, but I think unfortunately I'm going to sit this one out for everyone's sake.
How are you feeling about Tell Me a Story? How long? What's your bet on how long that one will go?
I don't know. I think this, you know, it's an anthology, and so as a result of that, I did season 1. Yeah. I happen to do season 2, but it's certainly not.
Not a given that you're in.
No, not at all. It just worked out, you know, this way.
I kind of love it. I mean, American Horror Story does the same thing. It's a new. I don't think it had been done before. These types of shows.
I don't know how these these streaming services. I've been working with CBS All Access now for 2 years, and they're wonderful, and I really enjoy my relationship with them. I don't know. They don't release. I don't know who's watching Tell Me a Story. I hope someone's watching it. Yeah. We don't know that with Netflix. We don't. We don't know much. So hopefully it'll stay on for a bit.
Is that right? They don't release the viewing figures to you?
I don't know. I think they do occasionally, but I'm not. I mean, I don't follow it too closely. But my understanding is because I tried to find out how many people watched season 1. And I couldn't.
There was no way to find
get an answer.
We will set our journalists on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Let you know.
There you go.
With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Really
for coming.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
great
talking to you.